there, it's Dr. Sophia Satterwhite, founder and CEO of She Heals the World. I'm so happy that you are tuning in to today's episode to hear the top lifestyle and business tips from women entrepreneurs all around the globe. If you found this show helpful, be sure to share it with a friend. That's how our community grows. Today's guest is coming up next. So today I have a dear person to me, Yanique Francis. She is in Paris and she is an event planner and travel writer. And she's going to talk to us today really about the state of affairs in Paris as we've been dealing with COVID and protests. And she's also going to share her beautiful business and the work that she does. And so I'm so happy to have her joining us today. Yanique, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Sophia.
So tell me about your business first. I mean, you have such a beautiful business. How did you get started in this work?
So I got started planning events 6 years ago. Actually, kind of because I was married to someone who was a photographer, and he always told me, you're such a people person. You should do events. You should do weddings. And at the time, I was working in marketing, and I really just did one event. I was like, okay, I'll just do one event to help you out, because at the time we didn't have a lot of high-end wedding planners in Paris. And I did this wedding. It was about 200 people. I thought I was going to die, and it was amazing. And that's how I got started. That's how I got started in weddings. And the travel blog that I have, I've had it for 11 years. It's one of the top Paris-based English websites. And I work with some of the best hotels and brands here in France. And that I started really with my love of food and documenting everything that I was discovering here in Paris, having moved from New York. And so it just really took off.
So MyParisianLife is the blog. It's one of my favorites, and it is just so beautifully designed. And I'm just wondering, when you think about what you've been able to create today, and then you think about, your upbringing and your life story, what did you think you were going to be doing when you were growing up as a little girl?
Oh my God. I thought I was going to be a doctor. I think I always knew I was very smart. And so I was always told that I was going to be a doctor.
Yes.
And so at some point when I got my scholarship to university and I started to kind of study pre-med, and then I was like, oh my God, for the first time in my life, I'm getting bad grades. Like, this sucks. This cannot be it. And I remember as a prerequisite, I had to do some communications and like English classes and history and all these other non-scientific things. And it was amazing. And 2 years in, I just ran over to the communications department and I was like, help me, I have to change. And then I just majored in communications and I never looked back.
Wow. So that communications degree really supported you in doing what you do today.
I think it's also a lot about my upbringing. I think I've always had this ability to hold space, to tell stories, and to communicate. I didn't realize it when I was growing up, I think. And so that's why I think when I discovered these courses, it was so easy for me because it was kind of almost always there.
Yeah. So you just had to kind of feed it a little bit. I mean, you have an incredible sense of style and design and branding, and you make the work look so effortless. And I'm just wondering, from somebody who, could be looking at this from the outside in, and they have a dream to eventually create something beautiful like what you've done. What hurdles were there that you had to face when you actually decided, like, okay, this is going to be a real business that's going to support my life in Paris?
I think no matter what you do and no matter the industry, there will always be hurdles. You just have to tell yourself that I'm courageous enough to live my best life and just keep going. I think at some point I really decided that I knew what I wanted to do for myself, even if I didn't know how. And then I just kept taking the next step. I think one of the most important things to do is to really question ourselves about what makes us feel good.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
everything that is done in the feel good energy and the energy of love will always lead to success. Because
Mm.
other people can feel that.
Yeah. Yeah. So you use that power to really help you push through the hard times, because I'm sure it hasn't always been a cakewalk for you.
It's never a cakewalk. I think one of the, I think anyone who's an entrepreneur will have obstacles,
Yeah.
because the world is not necessarily built, unless you're born into a family of entrepreneurs. I think a lot of it, people think that it's just an uphill and then things just, but it's really sometimes a roller coaster. I've had businesses that just didn't, and projects that didn't take off. And that's a part of it. I think at the end of the day, I've always just kept going.
Yeah.
And always try to have fun, to have fun and to make money. I think it's really important for me, because if I'm not having fun and I'm not making money, then what's the point? I think when you enjoy what you do, that's, the legacy thing comes later, really. It's about also really enjoying what you do in the moment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what are you proud of? What's your greatest win in this business?
Oh my goodness. I think what I'm really proud of is just that every single day I get up knowing that I'm doing what I was born to do. I think a lot of people don't have this feeling. I think a lot of people um, don't necessarily feel the joy in their stomach of doing exactly what they want to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'd love to transition us to the state of France, maybe the state of Paris right now. Everyone has felt this immense sense of solidarity, even as we've been all experiencing protests together now. And before the protests, we all have been in lockdown for months and months and months. And I think that in my heart, the only thing that has kept everyone so positive is knowing that they're not alone in this, and that everyone is experiencing the same thing. And I'm just wondering, for you with your business and being in the travel and the event industry and having to pivot, as well as being in the heart of Paris, what was this experience like for you?
Oh my goodness, it was super emotional. I remember within the space of 24 hours just basically losing all of my business. But the same thing happened to everyone I knew within the event industry, within the wedding industry, photographers, hairstylists, whoever. We literally just lost all our business. And I think one of the quickest ways we really pivoted was realizing that our business is our clients, and it brought on a deeper communication and connection with our clients, because we literally had to say, please don't cancel, postpone. And so that was another way of creating stronger bonds with our clients, because a lot of people actually decided then we'll postpone and not cancel. But then it also brought us within the industry closer together. So it's also really good. And then in terms of the social aspect, France is one of those countries that really tries to take care of its citizens. So because we're small businesses, we do have the opportunity to ask for help from the government. It's not a lot, but just having that governmental solidarity is good as well.
Mm-hmm. And are you guys technically out of quarantine right now? I mean, we are technically still in quarantine.
We came out of quarantine, which we call the déconfinement. So the déconfinement started 2 weeks ago, and I'm still homeschooling my son. I've decided there's 3 weeks left in the school year. I'm not going to put him back in school. And a lot of parents did the same, because we've been homeschooling our kids for all this time. And but things are slowly getting back to normal, because even though we've been in the déconfinement for 2 weeks, we just had restaurants open up this week. So and a lot of them it's just the terraces, it's not the interior, so you can only take away or sit outside and kind of at a distance from each other. So slowly but surely we're getting there. But it almost feels like it's a big holiday when I go outside because people are super happy and like it's
Yeah.
buzzing, and it's like it's a really good energy. It's really beautiful. The days are super beautiful here now because the weather's super nice.
I can imagine that. I mean, we see all these, aspirational images of people in Paris playing instruments from the window, and folks in the U.S. we're a little bit more spread out, and so it just gives you this warm, cozy feeling when you see people
Yeah.
connecting in that way. Yeah, have you
Exactly.
experienced that?
Amazingly, amazingly. I think one of the joys of, I think there's a lot of people are just like, it's kind of crappy, the confinement, which is true. But one of the joys is that now I know all my neighbors. We go to the window, we clap at 8 o'clock at night, we say bonjour, bonsoir. Now with the déconfinement, we see each other in the street, we have like small talk, because we kind of have gone through this this confinement is sort of a social glue for us now. And so there's more of a community.
It's been beautiful how everyone has come together. And one thing that you mentioned earlier was you mentioned, that the business is grounded in the clients. And sometimes I think people forget that like businesses serve people and they're not just numbers, they're not just check marks. And when you have conversations with people and they see that you are a business owner, you have a family, and your life is in your business, they're like, if I can support somebody, I'm going to support you. And I've just seen so many hearts open up during this time. It's been so beautiful to watch.
Oh my God. I can't even express how my heart has just exploded with so much love and appreciation for every single one of my clients, even just people who leave a like or a comment on my Facebook or my Instagram, because it means so much. And I have to say that what I learned through this is to even have more grace as a business owner. Because it shows me that a lot of times we think that there's a very strong divide between the professional and the personal. And I had to get very personal with every single one of my clients. I had to say that this is the situation as a small business owner. Here's what I think we can do from here. Let's do that. We pretty much all crafted our own win-win solutions.
Let's go into your services. Tell me a little bit more about specifically the blog, what you offer. I mean, you are a foodie, of course, and so I want to ask you what your favorite food is over there, but we'll get there. First, tell us about your services and what you do.
Okay, so I have this amazing love for a lot of things. I love wine, I love cheese, and so one of the services that I offer is called the Paris Foodie Bag, and it is hand curated, hand delivered. Welcome to Paris bag, which is kind of like a picnic bag. So you get wine, fresh baguette, for selection of cheeses, souvenirs. It's hand delivered. And that's one of the services that's one of the best sellers via MyParisianLife. I also do trip planning. So if you're coming to Paris with your family or just solo and you're thinking, well, I have 24 hours or I have 4 days, what can I do based on my interest? As an event planner, I have lots of contacts with hotels or car companies. So sometimes I'll offer transportation services if you want to go to Grasse, or if you want to go to Normandy or things like that. So those are just two of the services that I offer via MyParisianLife. And then with ElopeinParis, I do a lot of really beautiful intimate weddings. A lot of those are elopements, and then some of them are smaller group weddings, no more than 60 people. And within that, it's just everything that I do is really about telling stories of love and joie de vivre, and I just love it all.
So what's your favorite food?
Oh
I'm
God.
such a foodie. I am such a fatty foodie. It's not even funny.
You know what? You're gonna laugh because it's not even French. Like my favorite food right now is pasta. I love pesto pasta. And that's also because in the last 3 years I've gone vegetarian. But it's good because I shouldn't say vegetarian. I think it's a
Pescatarian. Yeah.
So I pretty much eat a lot of fish and vegetables, but pasta.
Pasta is delicious. I said that since, while we were indoors, I was going to learn how to hand make pasta, but the only problem is, so I like to bake. Whenever I go to Paris, I always take a baking class, a cooking class, just to like bring back whatever other. Yeah. Well, you have to give me that information because I listen anytime I'm there. I cannot wait. So I'll bring back some tips with me. And I said to myself this time, okay, you're going to learn how to do the pasta from scratch. However, I started gaining weight. And normally I'm okay with that, but my audience knows I have this little problem where I'll just not keep an eye on my diet, and before I know it, it'll be like too late to come back. And so I said, all right, let me hold back on the pasta for now. I'll get my fitness in shape, and then I'll get back to making pasta. So I love pasta. I mean, you just can't go wrong with any kind of bread, wheat-based product. They're just absolutely delicious. And I also noticed, so one thing you said that was interesting that I want to talk about too, is you talked about being a pescatarian and vegetarian. And back in the day, I used to be a vegan, and then that was a little bit too restrictive for me. So now I just kind of cut back a little bit on meat. If you have dietary restrictions and you are living the vegetarian lifestyle, do you think that they would have an okay time traveling to Paris and be able to make it around without a problem?
Yes.
Okay.
Now you can. 3 years ago, definitely not. We are such a meat-eating country. Like, I still sometimes will be like, can I have a vegetarian option? They're like, yeah, we have something with chicken. And I'm like, well, that's not. But now you can, because, one of the wonderful things about Paris is that the food scene is ever evolving. And so now there is a plethora of just like vegan, gluten-free, vegetarian, everything.
That's so good to hear, because on one of my trips to Paris, I agree with you. I was actually transitioning from being a vegetarian back to just eating a little bit of meat. And so my husband and I we were in Provence, and we went to this beautiful hotel. I will not say the hotel's name because it is a luxurious, beautiful hotel. However, we didn't have a great experience with the food because I ordered, silly American me, I ordered this thing called sweetbread, which I'm sure you know. And I thought it was actual bread. And so I bite, and I said to my husband, this doesn't really taste exactly like bread. So I flagged the waitress down, and I don't speak too much French, and she didn't speak too much English. And so I'm pointing to the item and I'm saying, bread, is this bread? And she looks at me and she points to her neck, and she said, that's what that is. So I guess it was like, go whatever. But let me tell you, I was out of there after that. I couldn't take it.
It's crazy because a lot of times if you go outside of Paris, in the smaller cities, smaller villages, it's a bit harder.
We probably should have brushed up on our French so that we could communicate that we didn't eat any meat. But anywho, that was just one experience. Everybody knows I love going to France. It's my favorite place in the world. So it didn't stop me. But so this has been so beautiful having you on and having you share about your business and about your journey and about the work that you're doing. And so before we transition and just talk a little bit about, giving your younger self advice, I just want to check in on your heart. How have you been holding up during this time? You've gone through all these transitions, you're homeschooling. This is a new world for you, just like it is for all of us. So how are you?
I have not been too well, but I've been taking it day by day. I think one of the most important things that I'm leaning into right now is to give to myself first, because I have a very big community as well on Instagram and Facebook, and I try to be very present. However, I think, everyone understands that right now with the pandemic and with everything that's going on. I also had a fire 2 weeks ago in my apartment. So just a lot of things happening that I've had to kind of really slow down. And so I'm really just taking it day by day, but I'm super excited about, all the changes that are in store for us.
Yeah, I think that everything that is happening is designed to not allow things to go back to normal, because everyone's like normal wasn't working, and I agree, normal was not working. This is all working for our good, to help us all create a better world, to come out stronger, to stand in our power in a higher way. And so whenever we experience challenge, that tells you that growth is happening. That's transformation. When you are having the worst year ever, and then you grow through that and you move through that, you have experienced so much personal development and growth. And so it's like bittersweet. We know that this is not for forever, but it's still hard. It's still so hard, so hard. So now that you are an established businesswoman, if you could look back and tell that little girl, give her any piece of advice, what would it be?
I would tell her to see herself. I never really saw myself. I never saw myself really. And just how amazing I've always been. I've always been amazing. Yeah. And I never saw myself. I really always just allowed my family, my friends to say, well, you're going to do this. This is what you're going to do. And I never really saw myself, but at the same time, I sort of did, because everything that I did got me here. So it's really to see yourself. I think navigating in a world that's also, it's so masculine. We live in such a masculine world. I think when you're a girl and you're growing up, I was living a lot within my masculine energy. It wasn't up until even 2 years ago that I started to really realize that femininity is power as well, and being into my feminine power and allow that softness and vulnerability to also be a part of who I want to be and defend myself.
So powerful, so incredibly powerful. Yanique, if our audience and as our audience moves to support you, how can they find you and how can they support your work?
Very, very easy. And thank you so much for having me on. And I look forward to seeing you all on YaniqueFrancis.com. It's my personal website, but from there you'll get information on everything that I do.
Beautiful. Thanks so much for coming on the show, and I'm sending you so much love.
Thank you so much for having me. I send you so much love and positivity.
Well, there you have it. Thanks so much for listening to the show today. And as always, for more resources as you continue to live out your beautiful mission of healing the world and grow your beautiful business, you can head to www.shehealstheworld.com/freebie to see what new resources I have in store for you. Thanks for listening. Tell a friend, and I can't wait to see you at the next episode.